Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is shaping up to be such an amazing game, right? I mean, it's looking spectacular based off of everything that we know about the game. However, if it is going to compete with all of these other amazing AAA titles that are scheduled to release around the same time as Tears of the Kingdom next year, the game has to include some of these things that we're going to talk about in today's video. And hey, make sure you stick around until the very end, because a lot of these things we might actually agree on as far as what we want to see in Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, it still feels so good to have a title to that game. Let's get this video rolling.
Alright, Zelda crew, so let's get the obvious need improvement out of the way. And in my opinion, that is the return of dungeons. This is something in the community that all of us want, right? I feel like me personally, going through Breath of the Wild, one of the biggest things that was sacrificed in order to push the open world mechanic was that the story was sacrificed. I did not like in the slightest, Zelda crew, how basically the story was told through memories and flashbacks. To me, that kind of made the story even worse. I just had a hard time following it. I just think it'd be so cool overall for Nintendo to put back the dungeons of old. Stuff that pops into my head is like the Skyward Sword dungeons were just amazing. They were beautiful. They had depth. They had really good bosses, in my opinion. I'm one of the Zelda fans that actually really love Skyward Sword, so that's always the first place that I go when I talk about dungeons. I love the dungeons in Skyward Sword. They're not number one, but they're really good in my opinion. Ocarina of Time had some really good ones, and I just think that Tears of the Kingdom could take notes from these games in the Legend of Zelda series. As far as the Divine Beast, I wasn't a big fan of them, and if Tears of the Kingdom scrapped those, I would be super happy. The Divine Beast as well as the shrines, just completely swipe them out, destroy them, like give up on them. And then in Tears of the Kingdom, just put back the things that we want as fans, like a traditional dungeon scheme, things that we can do in the dungeons, like mini boss fights, you know, stuff like that. It would just be super cool for me to see that return in Tears of the Kingdom. So one of the biggest things that made Breath of the Wild such a masterpiece and a hit with us, the Zelda community, is that they introduced open world exploration, like overhaul. Like it was something that was never actually done in the Legend of Zelda series, right? I mean, isn't Wind Waker considered like an open world exploration game? But if you look at that and you compare it to Breath of the Wild, it's just completely different. So I liked it and I didn't like it again in my first point. I feel like because of the push for open world exploration in Breath of the Wild, it failed to deliver on the story. So there's sort of a balance there in my opinion. But as far as open world exploration in Tears of the Kingdom and how to make it better, they could emphasize on the limitations that the game had. There was a lot of areas in the game that you could explore, and basically anything you've seen you could touch. But one of the biggest things that sticks out to me is the oceans and everything. Like there's so much water in Breath of the Wild, but you can't really explore. That would be something that would make Tears of the Kingdom amazing, in my opinion. Zelda crew is giving us the ability to explore underwater. A big example here is like in Twilight Princess, where you got the Zora armor and you were able to swim and sort of do your thing under the water, basically explore to your heart's content. I think that would be super cool, man.
And hey, my friend, if you are enjoying the content so far, be sure to smash that like button for me so it can spread to more passionate Zelda fans. I truly appreciate you.
This sort of goes with the open world exploration need for me in order for Breath of the Wild to compete with those other AAA games, is to have just a better variety of things to do. Yes, there was good side quests in the game, but I feel like the NPCs could be more involved in Tears of the Kingdom, right? I would also like to see more things to do, like, you know, have more shops in there and maybe some fishing holes or something like that. Like bring that back. We all want to fish, man. I sort of touched on this at the beginning of the video, but I just want the storytelling to be better in the sequel to Breath of the Wild. It was just lacking, in my opinion. I had a really hard time as a fan in Breath of the Wild basically understanding what was going on because it was told in these memories, and I just didn't care for that. Definitely do, in my opinion, something that like they did in Skyward Sword. I just love how the story was told in that game. It was like a couple things that happened and then a big story element would drop. And in my personal opinion, I do think that Tears of the Kingdom would be way better if it had more linearity. Like maybe pull back on the open world exploration a little bit and add that linearity that I loved in the previous Zelda games. I think that would definitely help this game compete with the other AAA titles coming out next year. So another thing I would like to see is a revamped weapon durability system. I personally did not care for the weapon durability system. I always got super frustrated at finding certain weapons that I liked. I liked the aesthetic of them, but then they would break like 2 seconds later, especially if you were playing on master mode. I don't know if it's official, but I'm pretty sure the durability was worse, basically. when you were on master mode. But anyways, I just want that to be better. Like I have found that very frustrating to have weapons that I really liked and it took a long time to find to break instantly. Super annoying. I'm sure you can relate. Now, as far as what can make this better, just have blacksmiths across Hyrule, man. Like have locations on the map where you can go to sort of upgrade the durability of those specific weapons or just repair them overall so that you don't pull your hair out when you break a weapon trying to fight an enemy or something. I think that would definitely help Tears of the Kingdom succeed. Another thing that I think Tears of the Kingdom must include is way better enemy variety. Don't do the whole Breath of the Wild thing where there was just certain variations of the enemies. Like you had the red bokoblin, the blue bokoblin, and then the silver gold. I think that was the ranking of them. But just bring back the classic enemies like Dark Nuts, Iron Knuckles, Redeads. Like I feel like this right here is my biggest point and the biggest thing I want in the game, because just imagine running through the caves or the underground area in Tears of the Kingdom and you run across a Redead or a Dead Hand or something down there. I would think it would be so cool. That plus 4 Dark Nuts just swarming in on you or something, or an Iron Knuckle, like the classic harder in the Zelda series. I think that would be super cool to see in Tears of the Kingdom. I really think that there have been hints of this actually in Breath of the Wild, but I would love to see the return of old friends, old companions, Midna, Fi, you know, things like that. Bring them back. It's pretty much confirmed that Zelda is going to be a big part in Tears of the Kingdom, but I think it would be pretty cool to have a returning companion like Midna or Fi return in Tears of the Kingdom. I think it'd be super cool just to sort of see that and have them revisited, their stories, stuff like that.
There's so many other things that I want to see Zelda crew in Tears of the Kingdom, but there is one thing in particular I want to draw your attention to, and that's this video right here. We're going to be talking about one of the biggest flaws that Breath of the Wild had and what Tears of the Kingdom could potentially do to fix that. Much peace and love. Be the light. I'll talk to you over on this video right here.